Hello and welcome to the Channel's Book Club. In today's episode, we'll be reviewing two important books written by two fascinating Nigerian authors. One is a retired major who tells his version of a high-profile murder, and the other is a young lawyer who is on a mission to educate and empower Nigerians on matters of the law and the Constitution. Please join us after this break. In 1986, one of Nigeria's leading journalists, Dele Giwa, was killed with a letter bomb. The murder case still remains unresolved. Major Debo Bashorun, retired, who was one of the core members of the administration of the day, has come out with a book revealing all that he knows about the murder. The book is titled Honor for Sale. The retired major joined us to discuss and review this book. Major, this is a very controversial book, isn't it?
Well, people say my middle name now is controversy, so I don't know whether you're right or wrong.
I mean, I picked it up and I couldn't stop reading it. Perhaps because I was very aware of the Dele Giwa situation back then. And after Dele Giwa's death, the case went on and on for many years. And it's still not a very closed case now, is it?
It isn't. It won't be closed until the Nigerians really rise up to demand from General Ibrahim Babangida and Colonel Aliru Akilu and the present-day Minister of Defense what actually happened. And it's an irony that those are still the people calling the shots in Nigeria today.
But some will argue that, there were court cases on Dele Giwa's murder, and no character was found culpable of Giwa's murder. So there might be a lot of questions raised about the authenticity and the credibility of what you have in this book.
Well, you could remember.
How do you respond to that?
The way I would respond is that you could remember. You're talking of military justice then. The courts, quote-unquote, what you call kangaroo courts. We, the military then, were the accuser, the prosecutor, and the judge. So all the courts then were under our jackboots. They couldn't do otherwise. At the point of gun, you have to do what we are told. So those courts that might have passed verdicts, injunctions or whatever, in favor of those who were accused of being behind the killing of Dele Giwa, they were exonerated then because of who they were. So what I'm saying basically is that we have not actually digged into how he was killed. And that's what I revealed in this book.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. I'm going to come back to Dele Giwa's story. But beyond Dele Giwa's case, one thing I noticed in this book was you also shed a lot of light into what happened to the Nigerian army during that era and even prior to that era, and post that era. And it was a bit disheartening. The Nigerian army is a very important institution, and to find out that it almost fell apart, so to speak, because of intrigues and corruption and all sorts of things like that. So was it intentional to actually show the picture of what the army looked like back then? When you wrote this?
It's part of what has brought this country to this sorry state that we are in now. Because the Nigerian army was being perceived then as the Messiah who has come to rescue everybody. But unknown to the public, that's not the truth. What the underpinning, the undercurrents that were going on then is something the public wouldn't like to see. And that's what I highlighted in the book. And since this book has been published, I think November last year, none of them has come out to discredit it because they know. I've challenged them, let us, all of us come to the public. We're in a civil democracy now, whatever we call it. So the fear is reduced now for anybody doing anything. If anybody has anything contrary to what is contained in that book, let that person come, and we come before the public and table are facts.
Why did you choose to expose the intricacies of the military? Is it because you had to prematurely leave the administration and then go on exile? Is it a vendetta thing? Or, I mean, what is the motivation behind writing it? Somebody might want to know that.
The motivation is simply, I want to get the facts out to the public. This is what is happening. They say life is sacred. For some people to take the life of others, people should be made held responsible to account for that grievous harm they have done to the person. Imagine now, if you are the victim, imagine how your family will feel. If I were the victim, the same thing will happen. So why do we want to sweep this under the rug and not actually expose it? I could tell you, by the time this book was about to be published, there were overtures made to me. Big money was offered that I shouldn't, it's a long time, I should forget about it. And I said, no.
Okay, Major, there seems to be many unresolved murders. Dele Giwa's own is just one of quite a number. How come we never get to the bottom of these cases?
It's because of the leadership we have in this country. And that is the bane of the problem we have in this country. The leadership has a lot to do with it, because none of these leaders who has led us, so-called leaders, I would say, has the guts, the boldness, the courage to face the culprits, the criminals among us, and bring them to justice. It's not that they don't have these facts. There are so many boards of inquiry during our time, during my time, during the IBB regime, so many boards of inquiries. They will write a report, bring it to us, but for wherever reasons, we just put it on the shelf, and that's it. That's the end of the story. Because of the corruption that was endemic. And it's what permits the society up to now.
What kind of reactions have you received?
Oh, tremendous.
Writing this book?
Tremendous. You need to
If you say tremendous, you're talking about positive reactions.
Positive
right?
reactions. Yes.
Okay, I'll come back to the positives. Tell me about the negative reactions.
The negative is that
because I can guess some people will be after your head now.
Oh, trust me, that's very correct. They have not even let me sleep. My family is very scared of what could happen to me. But I've told them, I'm just what I believe in, and I've done it. They are not happy at all. They are not happy that I could go to this extent. And at every function that I've been opportune to attend, and questions I asked about this book or what happened, I've been bold enough to tell them the truth. So they are not happy about it. They are still fantasizing what they could do to me. But with the good intention that I have, with God behind me, I don't fear what they can do.
A bit of the positive reactions now. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, I'm not trying to sound too boastful here. A person like Professor Shoyinka can write a foreword to this book. You know, it's somebody you cannot question his integrity. I mean, that tells you one of the positive angles. And then, secondly, wherever I went, I was at the Dele Bashorun lecture series organized by the NBA the other time. I just went in there, and then people were just coming to congratulate me, because it's unlike what we used to have in Nigeria before. This is not just on the surface. I've exposed people. I've called them by their names. And if they have anything to say, let them come. But they won't come, because this type of leadership we have condones that. If it were other better clients, they will say, well, look, this guy has accused you of doing something. So let's hear what you say, what you're going to say.
Okay, Major, thank you very much for coming on the Channels Book Club. I think I'm going to ask you to come again.
Thank you.
Let's talk about this some more.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.